Good morning, good Monday morning to everyone. Welcome to Dell and Dell International. I am your host today, Coach Chris, Coach CJ, whatever you want to refer to me as, Christina Johnson. And I'm so excited about our broadcast. And I know I say this all the time. I'm always very elated to connect with you and to share our hot, amazing topics. Before going any further, I want to acknowledge the absence of my business partner. Up until last week or so, we were on these episodes, these live streams together. He is working on assignment and will not be with us for a little bit. So I am forging ahead and doing my part of the partnership, right? That's why it has been said that two are better than one. So hats off to Marcus Dunlop as he is working on a couple of other projects that has taken him away from our morning conversations. But let me say this, I am so elated that you are here, that you are tuning in today. I cannot thank you enough for your support, for the comments that I receive, the text messages that we receive, individuals that we run into that say, hey, I tune in and I watch the content and I love the conversations and it's so powerful. Thank you. Thank you. Let me just encourage you to go over to our YouTube channel and subscribe. There's a whole library of information there. And moving forward, it is going to be imperative that you are a subscriber of the YouTube channel. So I just wanted to encourage you to do that today before we hop into this hot, sizzling hot topic. So, our topic for today is "'Tis the Season for Drama, Trauma, and Triggers." Now, see, if we were in a larger arena, a larger setting, you might even be encouraged to touch your neighbor and say, "'Tis the season for drama, trauma, and triggers." Already, I feel you. I hear you. Already, I see some of you going, that's right. These holiday seasons are no joke. It puts us in more direct communication and in the presence with family members, with individuals, whether they could be strangers, but they're just focused on that parking space. They're focused on that Black Friday item that's on sale. They're focused on getting what they need to get from the grocery store and just, oh my goodness, all the different scenarios that you begin to create drama, potentially, and heaven forbid if the individuals also have traumas that are unresolved or traumas that are triggered. So 'tis the season, y'all. 'Tis the season for all the wonderful things, but the reality is, and I'm sure most of you would agree, 'tis the season for drama, trauma, and triggers. So, our overarching theme for the rest of the year is traumatized people. Traumatized people. I'll say that again, traumatized people, traumatize people. And what I'll do real briefly is just share with you a little information on trauma and how it operates within an individual. And this will give you some keys and some clues. So listen to this. Trauma can have profound effects on individuals, influencing their emotional and behavioral responses. When individuals with unresolved trauma interact with their families, or in the workplace, or with their significant others, or with their children, or with their parents, it can contribute to an emergence of interpersonal conflicts. I know that sounds familiar. And disruptive dynamics. Here are some ways in which trauma can cause drama within families, the workplace, and other interpersonal dynamics. Number one, communication challenges. communication challenges. Have you ever been in an environment or having a conversation with someone, or you just say something with the intent, with one intentionality, and when they regurgitate it back to you, they've spun it and flipped it on its head, and you don't even recognize what they're saying, and the two of you are attempting to converse, and that conversation disintegrates quite rapidly, right? Because you have what you know what was in your mind and in your heart to communicate, and you have spoken to someone who potentially is dealing with some unresolved trauma. So what they hear is quite different. Their reaction is quite unexpected, based on what you believe you innocently said and innocently stated. Now, the flip side of that is this: if you are the person who has unresolved trauma, and and it affects your interactions with others, and 9 times out of 10 this is what happens, you may say something with the intent to get under that person's skin. It may be something, some unforgiveness, some resentment, some anger, some rage, some hurt that you have experienced, some trauma that you have experienced, that in your mind, you say, I'm going to throw this bomb. I'm going to drop this bomb. I'm just going to say this. I'm going to give them a piece of my mind. I'm going to let them know how, how I've been thinking. Does any of this sound familiar? So, trauma, unresolved trauma, results number one and first and foremost on our list through communication challenges. It is a challenge to communicate with a person who has unresolved trauma. It's very, very challenging. Within the family dynamic, trauma may hinder effective communication. Uh, Within family individuals who have experienced trauma, they may struggle to express themselves or interpret others' communications accurately. We could just spend the whole 15 minutes today speaking of how inaccurate that interpretation can be. And it happens all the time. Have you ever sent a text message to someone, and they, void of your tone and your tenor, the response to that text message is this big, blown out of proportion response, because they could not, the reader, the recipient of the text message was not able to interpret what you were attempting to communicate, and in the tone and tenor that you were desiring to communicate that in. Well, listen, it is tenfold when you're dealing with someone who has unresolved trauma. And this leads to communication breakdowns in communication, leading to misunderstandings and leading to conflicts. And then the cycle, because we're talking about how to break these cycles. The cycle then turns into the, well, you said, and then other person's, well, you said, and it's an endless accusatory, finding blame situation. So in the workplace, these traumas can impact communication in professional settings as well. So listen, guys, it's not just with your neighbor, with the person at the grocery store, with the person who beat you to a parking spot, with your own family, your children, your parents, your loved ones. But having unresolved trauma can also impact you in business, impact your success, impact you in the workplace, even in professional settings. And let me just share this with you. Employees and employers with unresolved trauma may have difficulty expressing their needs or concerns, and misunderstandings can arise between colleagues and supervisors. Listen, unresolved trauma impacts every area of our lives. The second area is conflict avoidance or escalation. People who have unresolved trauma will either escalate a situation, I mean, just hit the gas and go 10,000 miles per hour and just can't stop. Just, well, oh my gosh, just escalate it, and it gets hotter and hotter and hotter until it's white hot and explosive, and there is a nuclear meltdown, or even avoidance. You have individuals who have trauma or who have been traumatized by traumatized folks, and they'll attempt to avoid the situation. And listen, I've been there. I'll share my story with you in just a moment. So, conflict avoidance or escalation is another byproduct of trauma. Now, listen, what's the remedy? What's the remedy? And we're going to talk about some remedies before we hop off. So, not only do these conflicts disproportionately heighten around the holiday seasons when we're spending more time with family, but in the workplace, avoiding addressing conflicts altogether also fosters a tense environment because listen, we're very, oh my gosh, we're very relational beings. We feed off of the disposition of others. Some people call it feeding off of someone. I match your energy, whatever energy you're giving out, and all of that. And then in some settings, they'll say your spirit just wasn't right. You had a heavy spirit, or your spirit, the spirit, what you were emitting spiritually was an indication that there was something transpiring. And this takes place again in families as well as workplaces. So in workplaces, you may have a boss, a CEO, a supervisor, a president, a colleague, an employee that has unresolved trauma, and it makes teamwork and collaboration almost impossible. So we're going to talk about some remedies for that. And then emotional regulation. That's another byproduct of unresolved trauma. Traumatized individuals may struggle with emotional regulations within family contexts, leading to unpredictable, somebody say unpredictable mood swings. Oh my gosh. I know. I feel you. I feel you. You're like, yes, yes, that's Aunt Blue Dress, or that's Uncle Brown Shoes. Oh my goodness. People who are unpredictable, they'll fly off like walking through mine landmine almost. Mood swings or emotional outbursts. The same is true again in the workplace. Emotional regulation is vital in the workplace, and trauma survivors may find it challenging to manage stress. Stress is a trigger, guys. So, stress resulting in heightened emotions that impact professional relationships. And lastly, the impact on decision making. And this is, I think, although we're listing it as the fifth byproduct of unresolved trauma, is one of the most important, because we have to live with our decisions. And if we make decisions based on unresolved trauma, it can have very long lasting effects on our lives, and decision after decision after decision. Oh, guys, and this is the reason the cycle has to stop, and the help has to be acquired. So, within a family structure, trauma can influence decision making within families, with individuals making choices based on past traumatic experience rather than current circumstances. So stuck and wedded to the past that they can't move forward. This will lead to isolation, separation. Well, I just can't deal with them, or you're the one in the family that'll show up, but it's gonna be some drama surrounding it. But this also happens within the workplace. Trauma survivors in the workplace may bring their past experiences into decision-making process, potentially impacting their ability to make effective and rational decisions. And listen, I do not want to not mention the impact that it can have on marriage and real personal loving, supposedly loving relationships, guys. So I am at my 15-minute mark. I don't want to go much farther, but this is just an introduction to the conversation that we will be completing and well, continuing, let me say, this week and throughout the end of the year. What is the end game? What is the goal? The goal is for you to get the help, the guidance, the partnership that you need to make this holiday season drama free, as well as your new year. As 2024 comes in, to make your new year drama free as well. Call our number 213-395-8133. Our transformational coaching focuses on these traumas. Now, sometimes we look at the byproduct of our relationships and our interactions with folks, and we don't realize that we ourselves are going through or we have unresolved traumas. This is something myself and my co-owner, my co-founder, Marcus Dunlop, we specialize in within our coaching sessions with you, and also within our seminars. We focus, and our specialty is to get to those root causes for those behaviors, for those reactions, so that you can be successful in every area of your life. This is Coach Chris. I can hardly wait for us to pick up again on Wednesday as we continue. 'Tis the season for drama, trauma, and triggers, and how to end the cycle of trauma. You guys have a blessed and incredible day, and I look forward to seeing you soon.